because sometimes growing up means choosing who you are in a world trying to tell you otherwise. Hey everyone, welcome back to Movies on the Brain. I'm Jason, and today I'm revisiting a coming of age classic, The Outsiders, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, with a cast packed with future stars like C. Thomas Howell, Matt Dillon, Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, Ralph Macchio, Tom Cruise, Emilio Estevez, and Diane Lane. This film captures youth, loyalty, and the invisible lines that divide us. It's raw, it's heartfelt, and it's steeped in that restless energy only youth can carry. Let's talk about what makes this one still resonate. The Outsiders opened in theaters on March 25th, 1983 with a budget of $10 million. During its 9-week theatrical run, it earned $25.6 million domestically and $15,854 internationally, making a worldwide total of $25.7 million. Its opening weekend saw it earn $5.06 million, finishing number 2 in the box office, behind only Spring Break, which also opened the same weekend. Its final week in theater saw it earn $638,061, finishing its box office run at number 13. In 1965 Tulsa, Oklahoma, Derry Curtis is left to raise and support his younger brothers Soda Pop and Ponyboy after the death of their parents in a car crash 8 months earlier. Youth subculture in the city is centered around two gangs, the affluent Soaks and the poorer Greasers. The Soaks harass and assault Ponyboy until some of his fellow Greasers chase them off. Ponyboy, Johnny Cade, and their friend Dallas Winston go to a movie at the local drive-in, where Dallas unsuccessfully flirts with Soch Cherry Valance and leaves in a rage after she insults him by splashing him with Coca-Cola. Cherry invites Ponyboy and Johnny to sit with her and her friend. Their Soch boyfriends Bob, Sheldon, and Randy Anderson take umbrage, so the girls leave with them to avoid any escalation. Ponyboy and Johnny walk to an abandoned lot to help Johnny avoid his parents' bickering and domestic violence. He confesses the hopelessness of his young life and considers suicide. Ponyboy falls asleep and Johnny wakes him a few hours later. At this point, Ponyboy rushes home where Derry confronts him and violently shoves him to the floor. Ponyboy runs off to a local park with Johnny where Bob, Randy, and 3 other associates attack them. Johnny is beaten, and when Ponyboy is almost drowned in the park's fountain, Johnny fatally stabs Bob in self-defense. Ponyboy and Johnny find Dallas, who gives them money for food and a loaded firearm. They flee to Windricksville after hopping on a train and hide in an abandoned church, where they read Gone with the Wind aloud to pass time. Dallas visits, taking them to get a meal at a local restaurant. He brings a note from Soda Pop that urges Ponyboy to come home, as Cherry is willing to testify on their behalf. Johnny favors turning themselves in, but Dallas disagrees. Returning to the church, they discover that it is on fire with children trapped inside. They rescue them but suffer burns. Johnny breaks his back, whilst part of the structure collapses on him. Ponyboy reunites with his brothers in the hospital and returns home. Their heroic deed makes the front page of the local paper. The next day, Ponyboy falls ill, and Two-Bit Matthews volunteers to care for him. Two-Bit and Ponyboy walk to the Dairy Queen. One of the Socs, Randy, peacefully talks to Ponyboy about an upcoming rumble to settle the Greaser and Soch rivalry. Ponyboy and Two-Bit visit Johnny and Dallas in the hospital. Ponyboy asks Two-Bit to buy another copy of Gone with the Wind at the hospital gift shop. Johnny's mother comes, but he refuses her visit. She takes out her ire on Ponyboy and Two-Bit, who declare her as a bad mother. Dallas encourages them to win the rumble for Johnny, and they do. Dallas then drives an injured Ponyboy to the hospital to see Johnny. Dallas tells him about the Greaser's victory, but Johnny is dismissive and dies after telling Ponyboy to stay gold. Dallas robs a store, is pursued by police, and and is shot by cops. The judge exonerates Ponyboy for Bob's death as self-defense and places him in Derry's custody. Cherry sees Ponyboy and ignores him. His English teacher offers him a passing grade if he writes a quality essay, but Ponyboy is uninspired. He finds a letter from Johnny explaining how saving the children was worth him sacrificing his own life and advising Ponyboy to never change. Johnny's letter inspires Ponyboy's essay. The story begins, I only had two things on my mind, which is the book's opening line. Now let's look at the cast and some of their other roles they've had. C. Thomas Howell is Ponyboy Curtis. Other roles for C. Thomas Howell include Casper Weinberger in Reagan, Reverse Flash in the Lego DC Supervillains video game, and Jim Halsey in The Hitcher. Ralph Macchio as Johnny Cade. Other roles for Ralph Macchio include Bill Gambini in My Cousin Vinny, Joseph Stefano in Hitchcock, and Maz in Beer League. Matt Dillon as Dallas Dally Winston. Other roles for Matt Dillon include Trey in Rock Dog, Barry in Old Dogs, and Trip Murphy in Herbie Fully Loaded. Patrick Swayze as Daryl Derry Curtis. Other role before his passing in September of 2009, other roles for Patrick Swayze included Richard Pressburger in Jump, Jack in Three Wishes, and Johnny Castle in Dirty Dancing. Rob Lowe as Soda Pop Soda Curtis. Other roles for Rob Lowe include Billy Hicks in St. Elmo's Fire, Owen Strand in the TV show 911 Lone Star, and Brad Kessler in The Invention of Lying. Emilio Estevez as Keith Two-Bit Matthews. Other roles for Emilio Estevez include Gordon Bombay in the Mighty Ducks series, Andrew Clark in The Breakfast Club, and Daniel in The Way. Tom Cruise as Steve Randall. Other roles for Tom Cruise include Roy Miller in Night and Day, Joel in Risky Business, Joel, and Jerry Maguire in Jerry Maguire. Glenn Withrow as Tim Shepard. Other roles for Glenn Withrow include Terry in Peggy Sue Got Married, Willie in Beverly Hills Cop 2, and Frank in It Takes Two. Diane Lane as Sherry Cherry Valance. Other roles for Diane Lane include Riley's mom in Inside Out, Martha Kent in Man of Steel, and Karen Powell in Jack. Leif Garrett as Bob Sheldon. Other roles for Leif Garrett include Mike in 1973's Walking Tall, Peter Ransket in The Whispering, and Lucas Stone in The Art of a Bullet. Darren Dalton as Randy Anderson. Other roles for Darren Dalton include Daryl Bates in 1984's Red Dawn, Dexter in Sleeping Dogs, and Malcolm in Vault of Darkness. Michelle Mayrink as Marcia. Other roles for Michelle Mayrink include Jordan Cochran in Real Genius, Judy in Revenge of the Nerds, and Susie in Valley Girl. Gaylord Sartain as Jerry. Before his passing in June of 2025, other roles for Gaylord Sartain include Sheriff Stuckey in Mississippi Burning, Ed Couch in Fried Green Tomatoes, and Charles Dean in Elizabethtown. Tom Waits as Buck Merrill. Other roles for Tom Waits include Zachariah in Seven Psychopaths, Rex Blau in Licorice Pizza, and Benny in Rumblefish. William Smith as the store clerk. Before his passing in July of 2021, other roles for William Smith included Blade in Eye of the Tiger, Clyde in Neon Signs, and Emil Brax in Hell to Pay. The opening of being Ponyboy writing in a notebook, then to get actual opening credits is such a fantastic choice. I can't get over how young Ralph Macchio looks in this, and the fact that he is one of the oldest of our leads is wild to me. Tom Cruise being in this never fails to surprise me, especially if you look at the trajectory of his career since this came out. I love how C. Thomas Howell and Ralph Macchio are portraying Ponyboy and Johnny just from their first few minutes, and Matt Dillon was the perfect choice to play Dally. How Diane Lane didn't absolutely crack when Matt Dillon fell out of his chair at the drive-in, knowing that it was accidental is crazy to me. If it were me, I'd have died laughing just like C. Thomas Howell did. The scene where Cherry blows up at Dally, then finding out that Diane Lane and Matt Dillon didn't like each other prior to this film, that real life tension between the two translates really well on screen. Emilio Estevez as 2-Bit when he comes in is hilarious, asking Marcia if she wants some of his chew that'll put some hair on her chest. I think Michelle Mayring's reaction to that line was genuine. If not, it came across that way. I really love the chemistry between all the boys, but especially C. Thomas Howell and Ralph Macchio. C. Thomas Howell and Diane Lane have really great chemistry as well. I absolutely love the transition used when the Socias are ganging up on Ponyboy and Johnny after Johnny Boy brandishes the switchblade while Ponyboy is being drowned in the fountain. And the score behind it is absolutely fantastic. The way Ralph Macchio is portraying being shell shocked he killed one of the Socias is phenomenal, and the lighting on him when Johnny tells Ponyboy what happened with the bloody knife is a great choice. Dally helping Ponyboy and Johnny is the best scene in the film. He's more of a big brother to Ponyboy than Derry is. The cutting of the hair with the switchblade always makes me wince. I couldn't imagine how rough it'd be with greasy hair. Bleaching Ponyboy's hair changes look so much, it's actually kind of crazy. Ponyboy and Johnny betting using cigarettes during poker is actually pretty comical, but it makes sense since they don't have any money. About 40 minutes in is when we get that iconic shot of Ponyboy in the sunrise, followed by the Robert Frost poem reciting from Ponyboy is fantastic. C. Thomas Howell absolutely crushes it as Ponyboy, especially in that scene. Dally taking Ponyboy and Johnny out for barbecue, and then to tell them that Cherry is willing to testify that the Socias who attacked Johnny and Ponyboy were drunk and that Johnny and Ponyboy only acted in self-defense is a great scene. But it also shows something is still troubling Ponyboy because he couldn't finish his food. I absolutely love the church fire rescue scene. It really shows you the type of guys Ponyboy, Johnny, and Dally are, even if Dally was hesitant at first. Soda Pop and Derry showing up and being there for Ponyboy in the hospital is such a great scene. And with the exception of when Derry punches Ponyboy, it's the first scene we see the three brothers together and see a vulnerable side to Derry. Even over almost an hour into the film, I still can't get over seeing Tom Cruise in it because he hadn't shown up much, but each time he does, it's wild to see him. 2-Bit getting an entire cake and beer to watch Mickey Mouse is comical. It adds some levity to the movie after finding out Ponyboy and Soda Pop may be going to a boys' home. Randy just wanting to talk to Ponyboy is a scene that if I hadn't read the book would feel out of place to me, but it shows viewers who may not have read the book that not all Socias are pompous and on their high horses. The makeup on Ralph Macchio's body showing how badly burned Johnny got during the church fire rescue is incredible, especially for the early 80s. I liked how we get 2-Bit, Ponyboy, and Cherry only by silhouette in the sunset, talking about the rumble, and then we get up close shots of the three of them. Cherry telling Ponyboy that he didn't see Bob, the one Johnny killed, for the other kind of person he was. Ponyboy blowing up at Cherry is fantastic acting by both Diane Lane and C. Thomas Howell. The score as the Socias are pulling up to the rumble is incredible, especially with the Socias hooting and hollering and honking their horns. The noises from the actors and car horns really add an extra element to that scene. The rain really adds a fun element to the rumble, and I love that we get to see each of our main characters, except Johnny, of course, get in some good hit on the Socias. Johnny's final line is the most iconic line from the film and the one that's most misquoted. absolute great delivery from Ralph Macchio. Dally breaking down after Johnny dies is incredible acting by Matt Dillon. The fact that within just about 5 or so minutes, both Johnny and Dally die is incredible storytelling. And then for Ponyboy to read the note from Johnny, putting in his own words what he thought Robert Frost meant by that poem, is an incredible way to end the film. Overall, I think it's an incredible film with an all-star cast, and I love the book too. Now let's look at some fun facts and trivia about the movie. In the poster for the film, the greasers are laughing as Johnny is smirking. This candid shot was taken during the photo session where the actors are supposed to look tough at the camera. What happened was that Leif Garrett went to the table. Ralph Macchio said, hey, Leif, that's for the talent. This comment cracked up the cast, and the photo was used. When Dallas falls out of his chair at the drive-in, it is entirely accidental, and Ponyboy, C. Thomas Howell, looks briefly at the camera while laughing. In the film, Dallas harasses Cherry, and the two have an altercation. The scene was shot early in filming, and Matt Dillon and Diane Lane recalled years later that it got them off on the wrong foot and created real tension between them off set, which is why their irritability with each other in the scene seems very real. When the cast reunited in 2003 for the 20th anniversary, the men laughed when Lane told them about this, all agreeing that they remembered the ongoing feud between her and Dillon. Lane blames her adolescent insecurities for being so sensitive to Dillon's teasing. She also admitted she fondly remembers how protective he and the other boys were of her. Dillon and Lane ended up shooting 2 other films as each other's love interests and becoming good friends. In the scene where Dally argues with a nurse in the hospital about the whereabouts of his hospital gown, the nurse is the author of The Outsiders, S.E. Hinton. While Ponyboy and Johnny are best friends in the film and novel, C. Thomas Howell often recalls not getting along with co-star Ralph Macchio, saying he was very serious and professional. He remembers a specific argument about him wanting to beat his high score on Pac-Man and Macchio demanding they rehearse their lines. Their differences could be attributed to the fact that Howell was only 15 years old and Macchio was 20 at the time. In the scene where the boys are in the street getting excited about the Rumble, Tom Cruise does a standing back tuck from the back of a truck. Patrick Swayze coached him beforehand on how to do it. Right before filming the scene, Cruise nervously approached writer S.E. Hinton and said he was afraid he would be unable to do it because he felt nauseous from overeating at lunch. Hinton asked if he thought he would feel better if he threw up, and Cruise said he thought so. Hinton took him to the food truck and made him drink raw eggs until he threw up, resulting in Cruise feeling much better and doing the stunt without a problem. In the Rumble scene, the first punch is given to Ponyboy. C. Thomas Howell recalls that the hit was real and it knocked him out cold on set. During filming, Rob Lowe asked S.E. Hinton what happened to Soda Pop Curtis. Hinton responded that Soda Pop was drafted to Vietnam and died there. During filming, the actors playing the Socs were given leather-bound scripts and were put up in luxury accommodations. In contrast, the greasers were given battered paperback scripts and had to stay on the hotel's ground floor, as the director, Francis Ford Coppola, wanted to create tension between the two groups. Out of the main cast, all of the actors were in their late teens except for Patrick Swayze, who was 29 years old, and Ralph Macchio and Leif Garrett, who were both 20 at the time the film was made in 1982. Some of the then unknown members of the cast did not get along with Leif Garrett, who at the time was by far the most famous member of the cast. Emilio Estevez and Tom Cruise were childhood friends before the film and showed up to the audition together. Both received starring roles. S.E. Hinton was a part of every aspect of filming. She stated in several interviews how much she loved the boys cast to make up her gang of greasers. Since almost all of them were teenagers and away from home with no adult supervision, She claims she became a mother figure to them for them on and off screen and fondly remembers them calling her mom. Over 35 minutes was cut before release due to movie executives fearing it would be too long and a chance of upsetting fans of the book, making the movie 91 minutes. In 2005, a director's cut DVD titled The Outsiders, the Complete Novel was released that restored much of this footage. During the rumble scene, Tom Cruise was accidentally socked in the jaw and needed dental work the following day. The Tulsa dentist has a picture of him and the young actor together in his office. And that's a wrap on The Outsiders, a film that wears its heart on its sleeve and captures what it feels like to be young, misunderstood, and trying to find your place in a divided world. It's about loyalty, identity, and the moments that shape who we become. Sometimes rough around the edges, but always sincere. Thanks for watching Movies on the Brain. I'm Jason, and I'll see you next time. Until then, stay gold.